Welcome to the NOFC podcast for episode 30, which is going to be titled Driving with a Purpose. My guest is Cole Trickle, aka Little Buddy, Mike Belgiovene. Mike, thank you for coming to the show. I
Jay,
appreciate it.
thank you for having me.
Go ahead.
I'm excited. I'm very excited.
So we've been chopping it up and shooting the shit down here for the past half hour, and I'm already exhausted. And this guy is a bucket of energy. This is going to be fucking amazing. Let me give you a quick bio before we get too far ahead of ourselves. Mike's career and a little excerpt here. He started the NYPD Academy in 2001, and he got up until December 2001. He did not graduate. He got a letter. That's because he got a letter from the New York State Police. And he went to the academy. He started January 2002 and graduated in July of 2002. Started his patrol in SP Wurtsboro, which is in Troop F Zone 1. And he became a EVOC instructor in 2005. He then got promoted, if you will, to HTF in Wurtsboro in 2007. Transferred to SP Middletown HTF, which is Highway Task Force, in 2013. He got hired for outside employment at Monticello Motor Club as a driving instructor in 2015. He went into traffic, which is a division within Troop, and we'll talk about what that covers, as a Troop traffic safety officer in 2017. Acting traffic safety supervisor July 2019, and he was promoted in February 2020 to sergeant, correct?
Yes.
Retired July 2024. A lot to unpack there. One of my first questions, which we didn't even highlight in both of our frameworks, is minus the police and NYSP. What got you into the passion of driving in general?
I think that it was always a thing. I mean, my parents said when I was a kid, I used to love running like in a basement like this. I'd have a little toy that I would sit on and just run back and forth and just do like power slides on each side. And anything with wheels, I was into it. It just, I don't know. It must have been pre-programmed.
So then you brought up a good point in some of your framework, is that one of the keys to becoming a good driver, especially growing up in our era, was a snowy day like this morning, especially on a Sunday. What we would do, and I did the same thing, we'd go to the school parking lot. We would make sure it was empty and safe sometimes. And we would just start doing our power slides, our donuts.
Just whipping them. Yeah.
Yanking the e-brake.
Yep.
And then letting it go just to figure out how it works. I mean, mostly at that time, that's not what we were doing. We were doing it for the fun aspect of it. But that's what created. I think I was a pretty good driver. We'll talk about some of the unfortunate accidents I had, but overall,
I was told that I got a text message that I'm supposed to talk about mine.
We got a lot of messages about things that people want to discuss about.
Yeah. Yes, we do.
So that's interesting. It wasn't like this. It was something when you were started out as a little one.
Yeah. Yeah. And then when I got my license the day I turned 16. Which today is kind of a lost art.
It is.
And that's something that we'll get to also. My first car was a 77 Bonneville that my dad let me use. And my brother and I would go to the parking lot at Holiday Mountain. And it was always wide open in the one section. And we would just do donuts there.
Yeah. And
laugh like crazy. And you didn't realize it, but you were actually developing skills.
You are. Yeah, absolutely. Now, this is kind of an extreme fast forward, but how did you get to become a driving instructor up at Monticello?
That's interesting. So they were doing a PBA competition between the Zone 1 troopers, the Monticello PD, Fallsburg PD, Sheriff's Department. Everybody put up like 5 drivers. Tommy Mungier actually was, when he was in the PBA, when he was president, he got me into it. He knew I could drive. He was like, hey, we're doing this thing. It's kind of a competition with other PDs. Do you want in? I'm like, yes, absolutely. Monticello Motor Club, yes. So we did it. The first year, I think we were in like the Pontiac Solstice, little 4-cylinder turbo, 5-speed transmission. We did this little section of the track. It was fun. It was great. I placed like second place out of all the other instructors. I'm sorry, all the other police officers that were there. Ben Arberg. He's the one who kicked my ass. Benny Arberg was a race car driver before he became a trooper.
Okay.
And he whooped my ass.
Yeah.
He was also an EVOC instructor. Him and I went to EVOC school together in 05.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So so that's how I got into it. And we did it like 3 years in a row.
Yep.
The 1 year I actually won first place, and the people that worked there said, "Hey, we see that you have some talent. Where, what's your background?" And I told them about being an EVOC instructor and all that. And that was around, like, I want to say 2012, 13, 14, some in that area.
Yep.
And so I had been an instructor for a couple of years already and started to develop some skills. And they were like, "Hey, why don't you come for a tryout for next year if you want to be an instructor here? You live close by. It's all based on whatever your schedule is. You can do it right around your regular schedule." I'm like, "Okay, cool." So that's how it started. I went and did a tryout with them, and the following season in 15, I started with them.
So you've been there 10 years now.
Yeah. During COVID, I really didn't do much.
Yeah.
And then towards the end of my career, I was kind of cranked up the overtime, so I really didn't have much time for them. So there was a little bit of a hiatus, maybe a year or two here and there, but for the most part, consistently 10 years.
Yeah. All right. We'll go back to the rewind now. So starting out, and first of all, something that's not talked about, kind of brushed over extremely lightly, is the fact that you basically did 2 academies back to back.
I did.
That must have been crazy.
So,
and then since it was so fresh, so let's just do a quick comparison then to the NYPD Academy to ours. What do you think about it?
it was structured.
Yeah.
You did a lot of structure. You're saluting everybody, doing all that stuff, but it was just so packed that they couldn't do it like we did it.
Yeah.
I was in a class, one of the biggest classes at the time, 220 or 230. My NYPD class was 2,500. I was actually in the same class as Vinny Yema, and I think Jay Grabowski. Never knew who they were.
Yeah.
I mean, you're in the gym with 500 people, you're shoulder to shoulder doing push-ups.
Yep.
It was very gross.
Yeah.
So it was a good academy though.
Yeah.
I never got to do EVOC though.
Okay.
I did firearms with them. I left before it was time for EVOC.
Okay. And then
I had a week off, and then started to
abandon ship, and then you go up to Albany.
I lost like probably 40 pounds in that year. I was down to like 150 pounds, which is like, that's not what I weigh now.
So there's no pressure during this episode, being that you're following a legit fucking icon in Ed Rasso. No
Ed
worries.
Rasso. Ed
You're
Rasso,
gonna do great.
The man, the myth, the legend. The guy's a fucking Greek god. Really. He's immortal.
We were talking about it during our briefing here, and we were talking about how many people watch versus listen, and he said, "I do both." He's like, "But with Ed Rasso, I could not stop watching because he's captivating. He's just captivating."
I could not take my eyes off the screen, honestly. And then obviously I got to follow a guy like that, so it's like my analogy in the driving world would be a Ferrari racing a dump truck. And in case you didn't figure it out, I would be the dump truck. I mean, I can't fucking compare to that guy. Come on. Like, I feel like maybe is there a lens that makes me skinnier, that makes me look a little more ripped?
nice little golden silver beard.
Yeah, I actually shaved on purpose because I didn't want to even try to look like him. I can't compare to that guy.
That's absolutely great.
He was the man. Honestly, he really was. He in the state police. Everybody loved him. Nobody said a bad thing about that guy.
You can't. And I'll tell you this much, whether it's a surprise to you or not, but since I posted the little preview for you, there's a lot of joking stuff going on.
Yeah.
Ed was more of a serious tone. Yours are more joking, because I think everybody knows that your personality is a lot more similar to mine than probably most of our previous guests, minus Tommy Fortuna. I think between the three of us, we have very similar personalities, very demonstrative.
We might have to do one with me, you, and Tuna.
No, I would probably freak out and want to stress. I would stress myself out.
I think we might melt that fucking laptop right there.
Probably would. So then, all right. So then you end up going to our academy, January 2002.
Yep. Graduated in July.
July. And you go right to Wurtsboro.
Go to Wurtsboro.
Where are you originally from?
Wurtsboro.
You are. Okay,
Yeah.
So you went right back to your stomping grounds. And you never went to any other troop, correct?
No.
Stayed there the whole entire time.
Stayed in F, and I literally 2 stations my whole career.
Yeah.
Wurtsboro and Middletown.
Yeah.
That was it. I didn't feel like I needed to go anywhere.
Yeah.
I had been offered other areas, other places. I'd been offered to go to the EVOC track to be like the track rat, like the third in command.
Yep.
And I'm like, it's 2.5 hours from my house.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll never see my kids.
Yep.
Can't do it. So
And
I
then,
would have loved it, but I
yeah,
couldn't do it.
so starting in Wurtsboro, tell us about your career in general as just a, like, let's just say a road guy. What was it like working up in the, uh, that's not the snot. It's kind of a
It's not.
snot. It
It would
depends
be
on
like
where you're at.
it would be like an offshoot of the snot because it's a little bit south of the snot.
Yeah.
It was challenging. I think that was the hardest part for me in the beginning was like on FTO. We're like, we go to some house party, and I walk in ahead of my FTO, like we're walking in the backyard. Excuse me, and everybody's like, "Hey, what's up, Mike?" I'm like, "No, I'm working.
Yeah.
I'm working." So that was hard at first, and my FTO was like looking at me like, "Dude, what are you doing?" I'm like, "Hey guys, you gotta not be noisy anymore." I was like, "The neighbors are calling us. Don't piss off my FTO by making me come back here." But I mean, other than that, I mean, I learned a lot. Like,
Yeah.
F, you were in Middletown, so you learn a lot. I mean, within the first month, it was a homicide in Woodridge. I was the first one there,
Mm.
and it was a complete shit show as I'm pulling up to this thing,
Yep.
and people running around everywhere, and guy laying on the ground with a knife sticking out of his chest. I mean, shit like that.
Yeah.
And I'm literally a month and a half out on the road by myself.
Yeah.
You see those memes where the girls like crying, and Matt Hines loves sending me these because he was my recruit. The girls crying, and right over top, it's like my first call without my FTO, and I don't know what to do. Like something like that. Then I felt that was what I felt like at that point. I got out of the car and I'm like, holy shit, look at this.
Shit just got real.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I have two other questions for you. One, you remember Danny Mitchell?
Danny Mitchell is who named me Little Buddy. So
That's very coincidental because for some reason I was digging into my memory.
Danny Mitchell was in Wurtsboro when I got there.
Yes, that much I know.
Yeah, he was Uncle Dan to me.
I'm just wondering, I haven't heard his name in years. Do you know where he is, what he's doing?
Last I talked to him maybe a year or two ago, and I think he was still in Catskill.
Oh, he's still working.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember him. I love Danny Mitchell.
But yeah, like when I first came on, I was riding A-lines, and it would be either him or Brian Webster.
Yep.
That I would ride A-lines with.
Another solid dude.
Another fucking solid guy. Exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, I learned everything from those two guys.
Yeah.
I learned how to be funny from Dan, and I learned how to be serious from Brian.
That's actually, they're completely two different
They
personalities, but equally as awesome.
Absolutely.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
I remember you as a trooper. Obviously, we were pretty friendly. Mike was very similar. Mike was a ticket writer, but Mike was very similar. But he's also not the guy to go and hide from a complaint or a hot call, so to say. When we were talking about things leading up to today's episode, we talked about like pursuits or armed robberies or burglaries or anything that had the capability of you needing to get there in a timely fashion. We were both very similar.
Yeah.
We would throw the lights on and we would hammer down.
Yep.
Wanting to get there.
Yeah.
So if anybody knows Mike, it's kind of easy to forget because the tail end of his career, he had a more of an office type job. But I recall the first at least 5 or 6 years that I worked in Middletown, you being that guy.
Yeah.
You were all over the radio,
Yeah.
and if something was gonna happen, you were gonna make your way there.
They used to make fun of me all the time because all you could hear was the Crown Vic screaming in the background when I'm on the radio.
RPMs at
I
about
would
like
just have it wide open all the time.
7 Gs.
Yeah, I would just have it wide open, up and down the Wurtsboro Mountains, going everywhere. I mean, I'd hear shit going on in Middletown. I'd fly over the hill. It didn't matter. If cops are cops are cops are cops. You hear stuff going on, you go. Period. That's how I was trained. That's what was embedded in my mind, and I was like that right up until the end. I mean, I would still go to stuff even when I was in traffic.
Yeah.
We had that thing in Pine Bush that like they thought it was a school shooting a couple of years ago, and I was like the third car there leaving Middletown.
Yeah.
Sitting in my office typing on my computer, and I hear this shit come over the radio. So I mean, like it was that part of it, that part of the job that never left.
Yeah. Same with me. There are some guys that once they get to a certain point, they want nothing more to do with it.
Yeah. I didn't want to stop cars anymore, but
Yeah.
when the shit hit the fan and people needed help, that part never went away.
Let's get into the episode and get some
Let's do
driving
it.
stuff into the mix here. I'll bring up a question that was asked. I believe it was on a state police Facebook page. Someone wanted me to ask about not only why we don't pit, which we do, but extremely rare, but more importantly, why it's not taught in the academy, especially for us as emergency operators. Even if I want you to talk about some our manual and what it says, and I also want you to talk about like the safety reasons behind it.
Yeah.
So let's start with why it's not taught at our academy.
So it's probably a budgetary thing.
Uh-huh.
It's probably a logistical thing. But I remember when I became an instructor, I went through the Scotia. We did it at Scotia. That was still there. That was in 05. We went to the new academy in, I want to say 2010. We went to Oriskany, the new track. But in Scotia, they had the pit cars there. This was like a giant steel bumper that wrapped all the way around the front of the car. And then in the back of another car was a giant steel bumper that went around on the backside so that you could pit these cars. Now, I was told when I did the EVOC instructor school that only the governor's detail guys got that training. And I'm like, great. As an instructor, I want that training so I can be doing that. There was like 3 or 4 guys that could do it. And then you had to do some special school or whatever. I ended up not getting pit certified. When we went to Scotia, those cars disappeared along with pit. Now, all the instructors that were certified in it had cycled out through the years and retired or moved on to other details or whatever. So we had no pit instructors. So as of now, pit is still in the manual because it needs to be in case you actually have to use it. And we'll go to the story that we talked about the other day. You need it to be there in case you have that wild chase that, this guy that's going to kill somebody and you need to take them out. If it's not in the manual, then if you go in front of a courtroom, now where's the liability there? Like, you don't even have it in your manual that your guys are allowed to do this. Now, the liability also stands that you're going to do this as a non-trained member. Are you going to do you know how fast you should be going? Do you know where to hit them? Those are, that's hard.
It is.
And we did a winter in service in 21 or 22 where we taught Stinger, and the pit maneuver was discussed in there. But I specifically told everybody, I'm like, if you don't know how to do it and you don't know the first thing about it, even if somebody comes on the radio and tells you to do it, you are holding the liability bag for that. So if you don't know what to do, I wouldn't do it.
Yeah. I want to definitely get into some of the liability repercussions as well, but let's stick with the pit for now.
Yeah.
Obviously, the steel bumpers on the original cars back when you first started, they were for the people that can't figure it out, so it would be less damage,
right,
while as you're performing and practicing these pit maneuvers, so that you're reducing the damage on the vehicles. So that's why they were oversized and kind of protect the vehicles. So did you, at any point while you were an instructor, like, was it just you? Were there more instructors? Was this something that was talked about? Like, hey, this isn't a manual. You think maybe we should address it at some point?
So in the later years, yes.
Okay.
Like when I had to teach it in winter in service, I had said to them, hey, look, we need to address this. Like, you have it in the manual. You're telling us in this winter in service that members are able to do this, but nobody has had any training. I said, including myself. I have not had official training. I know how to do it, but what are we going to do?
Yeah.
Like, I told them, I said, if you absolutely have to do it when you're going slow. Yeah. Don't do it at 100 miles an hour on 84, because you will also lose control of your own car while you're hitting somebody in the back.
Yeah, there's after effects to doing something like that.
As you're contacting their rear corner, either side, you're contacting with the front bumper, you start to push through them. And the goal is to actually make the car rotate around the front of yours, right, and you drive through it. While you're doing that, your car is getting yanked in different directions. And if you don't know what to do or don't expect it and you're going really fucking fast, you are going to lose control of your car.
Not only that, but you're creating pressure when you're putting the front bumper on their rear bumper.
Yeah,
and then once you eliminate that pressure, you're now free of it. So
right,
you have to know exactly when the time
right,
to relieve that pressure.
Yeah, if you're turning into them,
right,
and they are gone now, and you keep turning, you're going to drive yourself right off the road.
Exactly. And that's something that some non-experienced drivers completely don't realize.
They don't know.
Which is another topic we're going to get
We'll get
into.
to that.
This may be equally as long as our previous episode.
Yeah.
There's a lot of fascinating topics that I
maybe we do 2 hours and 2 minutes just so I can beat him at something.
That would be great. So it's been discussed, And the simple answer is, in your opinion, budget and time.
Yeah. So if to do it now, like you would have to have instructors from the EVOC instructors go get trained on this.
Yeah.
So you have to send them somewhere, whether it be, I know Michigan State Police does it, and they're like the forefront of every police vehicle, every police training. They would be the Ed Rasso of the state police. That's what Michigan State Police is to driving.
Okay.
They are the epitome of driving. You have them, or you have, I know Virginia State Police teaches it as well. So you would have to get instructors certified. So now you have to pay to fly these people out or drive them out to these places, get them trained, and then they come back. Now you have to train your membership.
Well, actually, before that, you have to implement your own program.
Implement your own program and policies.
Right, exactly.
Which you could probably dig up the old one from when they did it with the governor's details. So it's pretty much the same.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really not rocket science. I mean,
no.
you just gotta know what it feels like.
Right.
That's pretty much it.
But there's so many more, correct me if I'm wrong, but there's so many more implications here in, well, essentially 2026 when you're talking about pit maneuvering as opposed to in the early 2000s, right? Think about all of the outside elements that weren't there 25 years ago. So that's another whole fact that you would have to consider when you're writing these policies for sure.
Yep. You have to consider that we live in a very liberal state that wants to paint a target on you if something goes sideways for something that is beyond your control.
Absolutely.
And that's a hard pill to swallow.
It is
for somebody like me, definitely.
Yeah, and especially for some of the older school troopers that still have some time to go.
Yes.
So they were trained old school, and now they have to reap the non-benefits of what's going on in this state. You talked about skid plates. Or what they call skid pads, which a lot of agencies have. Skid pads basically mimic losing control of your vehicle.
Correct.
Right. So a lot of times that you brought this point up, is the state police always has you, unless it's unless it's a training error, always have you train under conditions that are optimal for you, so that they can limit liability and the chances of an accident.
Correct.
Which obviously limits your capability of understanding what it's like to get into an oh shit moment when you're driving down the road at 60, 70 miles an hour to whatever it may be.
Yep.
And you hit a patch of ice or black ice, anything, puddle.
Yeah.
And you start hydroplaning.
A lot of the state police training for driving right now is concentrated on staying under control. But they don't teach what happens when you lose control. How do you get that back? So in Scotia, if you remember, the one section of the track that kind of peeled off, they would wet it down. They had it sealed with like driveway sealer, and it was a turn. So as you're going through the turn, you would chop steer through it, but you weren't like kicking the ass end sideways. That's understeer. When you turn and your front wheels are turned and you're still going straight, that's called understeer. Oversteer is like when you lose the ass end of the car, all the cool stuff that we used to do in the snow.
Yep.
That's the fun stuff. They don't teach that. Even in Scotia, they didn't. When we moved to our new track, because it was owned by, I want to say Homeland. I think Homeland owned it. We said, hey, this place is huge. It's literally 1 mile runway by another 3/4 mile runway with a bunch of taxiways. It was amazing. Like, I love that track. Yeah. And I'll get to that too. We used to do competitions at night. That's how I used to sharpen everything up.
Yeah.
But anyway, I said to them, and I had said to probably every boss that I had when I was there, every EVOC sergeant, why don't we have a skid pad here? Oh, Homeland won't let us do it. I'm like, we could just do it in a little corner back there, a little like 100 by 100. You driveway seal it. I said, this is not like, it wasn't a lot of money to do it. Yeah. I said, I'll buy the fucking driveway sealer. You know what I mean? And I'll go out there and I'll do it. We'll mark it off. It's one little corner. So it's, out of the way and nobody can see it. And then all you need is you would need something to water it down. Like, so you need a way to get water out there because it was far away from the buildings.
Yeah.
So you would need like an old shitty pickup truck, which I'm sure the state police has laying around somewhere.
Plenty of.
There are plenty of them.
Yep.
And you put a water tank in it and a little generator on the back that you pump it and water it down. You put some ball tires on the back of a shitty Charger that's on its way out. And, fucking la-di-da, there it is. It's what else do you fucking need? So it was conversations like that I had for probably the entire time that I had taught at Oriskany. and it just never got done. And it was always budgetary, and it was always this or that. It was always another reason that they couldn't do it. And it was, I never faulted my bosses for that because it was always above their head. It was always not their decision.
I can understand the implications of trying to get a few thousand members trained up on slick surface driving, if you will.
Yeah.
I can completely understand that, but how is that any more important than, that's where our livelihood is.
We drive every day.
As a road,
You
as
drive
a road guy.
12 hours a day.
Yeah.
We train.
It's very easy to argue because, we go to serious situations. You want to be like with Ed, you want to be trained in defensive tactics, weapons retention. Yes, not taking that away, but
No.
those are equally as dangerous as driving without the proper training.
Yeah. Whether you're a patrol guy, whether you're in the BCI, whether you're a commissioned officer, we're all driving. Civilians are driving troop cars or some type of division vehicle.
Right.
So it's important because everybody does it. We train for firearms twice a year. How many times you shoot your gun in the line of duty?
Not many. Let's just say that.
Okay.
I have, but
I did not.
Yeah.
I did not.
Yeah.
But I bet you drove more than you shot your gun in the line of duty.
Yeah.
Okay. So there you go. But for me, I had never shot my gun in the line of duty, but I knew how important it was to train at firearms. And we just never got to that point. Like even when you leave the academy, everybody leaves the academy. You've had your 100 hours of EVOC. You're certified. And then that's it. That's all you get.
I never realized this while we were doing our pre-recording talking. You brought up through the academy, you have different stages. Your units where you take tests, right? Penal law test.
Yeah.
Section whatever, you take a penal law test. If you fail that a certain amount of times, you're out of the academy.
Hey, you fail it once, they let you take it again Monday, right?
Yep.
And if you fail it Monday, there you go.
PT,
you
PT, they're a little bit more lenient on, but the bottom line is you only get so many chances at PT. If you don't pass PT, if you can't run a mile,
you can't pass the
and a
run.
half in certain amount, you're out. Firearms, if you can't learn how to shoot, and if you can't get a certain score, you're out.
Yeah.
What about EVOC?
They just keep making you do it because they said it's a learned skill. So the more you do it, the more you could learn it.
Yeah, well, no shit.
Right, but at some point, when you remember the skill course, that's the one you start off and you go really slow around the cones, and then you kind of lane change it, and then you do it backwards.
Yep.
That was always the killer. If you have somebody that can't do it, that can't pass it after 100 fucking times, how much time are we going to devote to that? Now you have instructors that are like, the rest of the class has moved on to whatever the curriculum is, and now this person has fallen behind because you're trying to make them pass a course that everybody else passed after 16 attempts.
Yeah.
They just, and it was, to them, it was always a liability thing. They don't want to be sued. Well, what about when this person goes out on the road and starts wrecking cars and they hit somebody and God forbid they kill somebody? What kind of liability is it then?
A much greater liability.
Wouldn't the lawsuit be higher for that than it would be for them suing you because you have a set of rules written down? And if it says, hey, you couldn't make this rule, you couldn't make this course, so you're leaving. What kind of lawsuit do they have?
And how much more of a liability is it for EVOC as opposed to firearms, physical fitness, or a test?
Yeah.
That they fail. By the way, real quick, I'm slacking significantly because I caught at least a half a dozen F-bombs. I'm really far behind. I gotta fuck it up real quick.
I don't even know how many it's been. I don't know. Somebody's counting.
Somebody's counting.
Somebody's gonna count.
I counted a solid 4 to 5.
Yeah,
while you were ripping off. I love it.
It's been a few. Yeah, but you said it was okay, so that's fine. Yeah, that's fine.
Matt Hines was worried about the FCC regulating us. Matt, I got special permission to F-bomb it up. So
listen, Matt was I had Matt as my recruit.
I'm sorry.
He heard the F-bomb plenty of fucking times.
Oh, that's great.
I love Matt. He was good. Him and I had fun together. I used to fucking torture him, that poor kid.
Matt's a good egg.
But
vehicles. Let's talk about.
Let's do vehicles. Yeah,
vehicles. Old Crown Vics, old Tahoes versus the newer version of what they have, and then we'll toss into this mix some technology.
Technology, sure. So Crown Vic, right? V8 power, full frame car, rear wheel drive. 200 and depending on what years, 220 to 240 horsepower. But weighed down with all of our shit in the back. Anti-lock brakes, no traction control, no stability control. Stability control is like when your car actually gets sideways for whether it's on wet pavement, snow, whatever, and it tries to use the ABS system to correct the direction of your car into a straight line. Traction control is if you step on the gas and the wheels start spinning like crazy, but then the ABS actually kicks in the rear wheels and will stop the wheels from spinning to keep you having traction. The Crown Vic had neither of those. So if you got sideways in that thing, you better know how to fix it. If you were spinning your wheels trying to get going, you better figure out something else. It did have anti-lock brakes though, which was fine. So you needed to learn how to drive. You needed to know how to drive a car like that. And I think even in that era, we had better drivers. We had people like us that got their license when they were 16, couldn't wait to drive. I honestly, I love social media, but I will blame some of that on that because when I wanted to go see my friends, I lived in Wardsboro. I went to school in Monticello. If I wanted to go see them there, I'd call them on the phone. It was fucking stupid. But we get in the car, you drive up there, you go see him. But like, I got my license because I wanted my freedom so I can go see my friends. Yep. Social media now, you can see anybody you want from your living room. You don't even have to get out of bed. You could be under your covers and talking to your friends, through whatever app.
It is, exactly. And that's the fucking problem right now is many kids that are our oldest age, 23, they still don't have their license. They have minimal hours under their belt.
Yep.
They don't even want to go outside because everything's right here.
Yeah.
Everything's right here. You could just go on your phone.
They don't even have the desire to get behind the wheel.
No.
Whereas we had the desire to do that because we wanted to be free. I wanted to get out of my house and get away from my parents for a little while.
Exactly. And we can also go back to, as we discussed earlier, times were definitely different in the late 90s or in the 90s, and in the early 2000s, it was completely different.
Yep.
A lot of less dangerous elements on the road. And again, these things weren't as big until probably like 7 or 8, when they really started kicking off. These are great and they're horrible at the same time.
Yeah.
Because they're a very distracting element to our driving, and especially in law enforcement.
Yeah.
Right. So now that we talked about some of the older vehicles, well, you talked about the Crown Vic. What about the Tahoe? And then let's talk about some of the newer vehicles.
So if we stroll into the Tahoes that we had when you first came on, because you had I want to say 2 years more than I did.
Yeah.
Was that squared body Tahoe with the square headlights on each side. They had ABS, no traction control, no stability control. So very similar to the Crown Vic, but it was lowered. It was 2-wheel drive and very low, but it was still a big lumbering vehicle. It had a high center of gravity. It had shitty shocks. Cause I remember driving one on FTO. And it had
spongy,
terrible brakes.
Yeah.
Terrible brakes. But it would go 135 miles an hour. So you needed to know I need way more distance to slow this big bitch down.
Yep.
Because when you put your foot down and you put your foot on the brake pedal and it goes all the way to the floor and you're like, I got nothing left. And your ass is off the seat trying to hold that pedal down. So you needed to know that.
Yep.
Then migrate out, move up to the next body style Tahoe was those ones with the thin headlights. It was still a truck though. Like those first Tahoes that we had like a car tire on it. So it was a much better base.
Yep.
You had more contact patch, tire on the road. When they stepped up in 2005, we got these Tahoes. We first got these fucking things and everybody wanted them. Everybody wanted to drive them. They were terrible. They had skinny truck tires on them, like these off-road Goodyear Wranglers.
Yep.
And they were terrible. And nobody knew what to do with them. I mean, you could do a smoke show like crazy. Like you turn around on somebody and you lay down on it and it would just lay down smoke coming off the back wheels. It was cool, but it wasn't a good police car at all.
Yep.
They were also 2-wheel drive. They also made some 4-wheel drives. I think the sergeants had them or whatever, but like those were mostly a 2-wheel drive car. When they finally got it right was when they changed to the new body style, the next body style in 2007. And that would be the ones that like the longest running one. And it was still 2-wheel drive, but it had traction control. It had stability control. So you had a little more to help you out. It was faster. The brakes were much better. and it had a street tire on it, a car tire style tire. It didn't have a truck tire anymore. So it was much better. But if you still weren't sure how to drive one of those things, if you still drove it like a car, you're going to wreck it.
Yeah.
Because it didn't handle like a car. It didn't stop like a car, but it accelerated fast. I got a nice video where we did an acceleration test at the EVOC track with me and a Crown Vic, a Tahoe next to me, and when we were testing the Caprices, a Caprice right in front of me. And the Caprice obviously walked us all, but the Tahoe and the Crown Vic were pretty much, I couldn't lose the Tahoe and the Tahoe couldn't lose me. So, I mean, acceleration was pretty much close.
Yeah.
But the technology started coming into play there a little bit. And the traction control was always a pain in the ass because it would turn on when it wasn't supposed to. Like you'd make a turn and it would shut up, it would turn on and it would lock up the rear wheels. It was weird. And then it moved to the newer style Tahoes now, the brand new ones. I know they're having motor problems, but like they just look too big and bulky for me for them to be like a pursuit vehicle.
Yeah.
And then if we back up a little bit and go now Dodge Charger, they introduced Dodge Charger and the Tauruses all at the same time.
Yep.
And we did testing on all of those at the EVOC track. We tested the Tahoe. We tested the Taurus, the Caprice, and the Charger all at the same time. Manufacturers actually brought them to us. So they weren't labeled as state police vehicles, but we tested all those cars. And my biggest problem with the Taurus was that I'm like, you guys, it's twin turbo motor. You're going to blow these turbos up.
Yeah.
And the guy from Ford guaranteed me, no, they're oil cooled.
Yeah.
I'm like, but what happens when, I don't know if you know, like a turbo spins at like 20,000 RPM when it's like spooled up.
That's
when you turn it off, the oil stops going to it. The only oil goes to it when the car's running. So if you're going to a call, right, and you're hauling ass and these turbos are spinning like crazy, the bearings inside of them are so good that when you turn it off, it'll keep spinning at 20,000 RPM, then 19, then 18 for like another 6 or 7 minutes before
it completely shuts.
Before it'll actually spool it back down to nothing. So it's running without oil in a sense for that amount of time. So I told the guy from Ford, I'm like, these are going to be a problem. He goes, no, they're going to be great. What happens? Every time I saw somebody pulling out of Middletown, there's smoke bellowing out of the back of the car because the turbos are blown.
Yep. So then what do you think, whether it be overall, what did you think of the Charger? Or what's your favorite car overall?
Charger was my favorite car.
Because it has all-wheel drive.
Well, the first ones we got were rear wheel. That was my favorite, actually. Even in the snow, I couldn't beat it. I mean, the all-wheel drive ones are great, but I loved it because I like to play.
Yeah.
But so what was it? The 11, 12, and 13, 11, 12, 13, and 14 Charger was rear wheel. 14 and a half, 15, 16, 17, and on were all-wheel drive Chargers. They were great. I think they were great. Mechanical issues, every car's going to have them. It's a police car. You're going to beat the shit out of it. You're going to, things are going to go wrong with them. It's just how it is. That's why they would always do 2 manufacturers in case you had like a giant recall on something. Now your whole fleet doesn't go down. At least you have still half the cars that you can still work. So if Chevy has if Dodge had a big recall, you still had your Ford Tauruses and you had your Chevy Tahoes. So that was the reason for them always having brands like that.
State police you're talking about?
State police, yeah.
Because a lot of agencies will use the same manufacturer.
All the same. That was always the reason for the state police. That's what I was told from the guys in Albany.
Crazy enough, actually makes a little bit of sense.
It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I mean, thank God.
Yeah. So your Dodge Charger favorite?
Dodge Charger was my favorite. Yeah, not the V6 Charger, the V8 Chargers.
We went over all the vehicles and how they progressed through the years. Implications of technology. When we first got on, there was some technology. You talked about the ABS and stuff like that. We can call that technology, but now in these new vehicles they're pumping out, there's sensors for collision control, lane departure. I don't know if the police cars have them, but lane departure, your hands on the steering wheel. There's so many.
You got rear camera, the backup cameras. The most, this is probably something you may not have known. The most accidents in the state police come from backing. And it's not like a serious collision. It's just backing into something and damaging the bumper and damaging whatever you hit. That is the most accidents in the state police.
I can see how that's.
And my thing was, all right, I was taught you turn around and look out the back window when you're backing up.
Yeah.
You know, cars are symmetrical, right? So you look out the back window, and what's in the back window? You have the third brake light that's either up on the top or on the deck, or you have the AVL antenna was always in the middle of the trunk.
So something you can acclimate.
So when you're looking out the back, you can see I know where the center of the car is, therefore I know where the left and right of the car is. So that's how I would tell people when we would teach them, hey, look out the back of the window, find your center, and point that center at wherever you need to go. Like if you're driving down the shoulder backwards, if you have a guide rail on one side and the fog line on the other, if you look far enough out your back window, those two things come to a point. It's symmetry, it's math. So if you take your AVL antenna and you look way far down the road, you can back up the highway at as fast as the car will go and stay in that lane and not hit the guide rail and not go into the lane. And like some people, it was just like fucking mind blown. They just had a meltdown right in front of me, like, oh my God.
That goes back to what did these new troopers do before coming on the job? What did you do? Were you New York City implant? No disrespect to the NYC guys or girls, but how much did you drive?
Yeah.
Down there.
By design.
And then when you did drive, what kind of driving were you doing? You're doing bumper to bumper traffic, high speed of 30 maybe?
Right.
Whereas us, it was much higher speeds and much less traffic. And
right.
You were understanding how to drive.
New York City by design, they're taking subways everywhere. They're taking buses everywhere. It's a pain in the ass to have a car.
Even rewinding to the 2000s.
Rewinding to people that I came on with.
Yeah.
It was a pain in the ass to have a car. Why would you have one?
Yeah.
So then when they went to take the state police test and they're like, shit, I got to get a driver's license. And then when they would show up and I would be their instructor, I would always ask them, even though I knew because they would write it all down on like their little pedigree sheet. I'd be like, how many times have you driven? Or what's if you could guesstimate your lifetime mileage? Some people would be like 300. I'm like 300. You're 21 years old.
We do that in a half a day.
Do that on patrol, yeah.
Exactly, easy,
easily 300. Sure. So it was, and I would know at that point I'm gonna have a long week.
Yeah,
because it's gonna be hard to teach this person. Not only do I have to teach them how to drive, I need to teach them how to drive an emergency vehicle, and that made it much more challenging. When you had somebody that was some country bumpkin from Troop B that has been driving pickup trucks since he was 10, that motherfucker was awesome. Because I'm like, I just, wind him up and point him in a direction, and I'm like, go. And he would be fine, or she would be fine.
Yep.
And it would be great. And it would be a great experience for me. But the other ones were just so difficult. And it was not their fault. It's just where they lived.
Just nature of the beast.
Yeah.
Your claim is that the majority of state police accidents are from rear in reverse.
Yeah, numbers wise. That's the most. That's usually the cause.
Yep. So we talked a little bit about safety and the technology of these new vehicles. I don't remember. You probably would recall better than I would when they brought the AVL or the computer into the vehicle, and then since then all the new things that they added and all the other things that you have to be responsible for. Not to mention the fact of troopers and or police officers, driving while they're on their phones,
yep.
Which is a concern for the motoring public, but it's also a concern for us. I did it. We all do it.
We all did it.
And I'm not sitting here trying to say any of us are perfect or can be perfect, but we have to realize as professionals, I'm sure you've seen some videos of police officers throughout the country getting into tragic accidents because of distractions, cell phones.
Yeah.
It happens every day when we're on patrol. So we have to know as law enforcement that can happen, but we tend to have that invincibility complex where that can't fucking happen.
It's not going to happen to me. Right. So I did it. Like you said, I did it when I was on patrol, but I tried to do it like very safely as I could do it. But the problem is they would always be like, hey, call us, or hey, we're texting you a picture, or like we as an agency never had that technology of, hey, send it to my terminal.
Yeah.
Like you could never send a picture to the terminal of the computer.
Right.
Like why? Or they'd be like, hey, we AVL'd you the directions to get to this place. I actually got on the radio one night. We're going to like an MHL, like somebody that wanted to hang themselves or whatever. I don't remember exactly what it was. So a suicidal MHL. And I'm fucking hauling ass. I'm 17. And one of the dispatchers, I don't know who it was like, yeah, we just AVL'd you some more information on that. And I got on the radio and
Let me
I'm like,
fucking take a look at that while I'm driving 80 miles an hour.
I said, I'm doing 120 miles an hour. I cannot talk. I cannot look at my computer right now.
Yeah. How about
Every time I would go fast, remember we used to have that little dimmer switch? It was like a knob, or sometimes it was like a minus sign on there. I would always dim it out because I didn't want that to distract me. Like especially at night, if I'm going to something, if you bump the fucking keyboard, now all of a sudden the fucking screen lights up and you're like doing one of these, trying to hold it away. So I would always dim it all down if I was going fast. Like I just reach over and start dimming it. But I'm like, so shit like that, they just never thought of. Like, I can't look at my computer while I'm doing this speed, going to this call. Just give it to me over the fucking radio. Let's do it the old-fashioned way for a second, could we?
Let's talk. How about talking it out?
Fuck's sake.
It's overcomplicating it. So technology, and even but quite frankly, there's been so many videos out there, and they don't even need to be videos, but the AVL is distracting. You know, as you're driving, how many guys would try to finish their SJS at the, while they're driving,
or run a plate,
Well, plates. Well, yeah, run the plate.
You could do it if I would keep the cursor in the plate thing, so I wouldn't have to look for it. Yeah. Like I kind of strategically did that so that if I did want to do it on the run, I could do it. But I mean, I still caught myself doing one of these every once in a while. But in EVOC, I don't know if you remember we had to drive down the narrowing cones.
Yes.
It was like very skinny, like inches off the car. And they had you lock your arm against the door and you had to look left and look right, still going in a straight line. So you had to start going, you got up to like 35 or 40 miles an hour, whatever it was. You'd lock your arm in, you'd look on the horizon to make sure the car was straight, and then the instructor would say left, and you hold, and you weren't allowed to turn your head until they said the next command. So I would fuck with them bad. I'd be like holding left, because especially if I knew they couldn't keep the car straight, and we just mow down the cones, so we have to go back and pick them up. And I'm like, listen, this is something important, because when you're gonna run a plate on the road, or when you're gonna point somebody over that you're next to, you can't look at them and do this.
Yeah. And
you're going to drive into
your body inadvertently mimics where you want to go.
Right. Your eyes are always going to, your body's going to follow your eyes. In that case, every other case, you want that to happen. You look where you want to go, right? You're looking through the curve, you're steering through the curve. Every other case, you want that to happen. In that specific case, you want to be able to lock yourself down so that the car will stay straight and under control while you're still looking at this person next to you, or typing plates, whatever.
Right.
But yeah, that was, and all those stupid little exercises at EVOC I didn't really understand them until I became an instructor. And I told them how important these little things are. I'm like, you may think this is nonsense. I'm like, but it really is very important for your car control later, for you to be able to do these things without telling the sergeant that you just knocked somebody's mirror off.
I would argue that, because we're talking about state police troopers, that's what we did. I would argue that driving for us is probably 2 to 3 times more important than like local agencies. Not to take anything away from them, but a lot of times you'll either have a city, municipality, or a township where you're only covering a certain amount of mileage. So the likelihood of you getting up to ridiculously high speeds is a lot less. So for us, it's a lot more important to go through all these. And and even how often do they do in service for EVOC?
Not at all.
Why don't we do an EVOC in service?
So
training will timely, and
we can get into that. So if you just to rewind for a quick second, we're talking about municipalities. If you're like, say, I was always in Village of Monticello, we would always do impact with them.
Yep.
And I remember going to a call one night with a guy named Scott Edwards, awesome guy. He retired a few years after. He's got to be retired 15 years now. Anyway, we're going to a call, like they would put us with them.
Yep.
And we would help double their patrol strength. It was like probably in the early 2000s. We had a lot of drug problems, a lot of gun problems, a lot of gang problems. So they would put us with them. And the one night he was like, "Hey, I don't want to drive. Like let's not take the PD car. Let's take your car." I'm like, "Cool." So we're driving around and we're going to something. It was like, shots fired or whatever at somewhere. And it's like probably 1:00 in the morning, and Broadway, Monticello, I'm doing like 105-ish. Just blowing down like all the greens. Like I would not blow a red light.
Talk about that.
Yes, we'll talk about that. But I would not blow a red light. But it was green, so I just held my foot down and went. And he goes, "I've never gone that fast down Broadway in my life." And he goes, "And you were cool the whole, like calm and collected the whole time." I'm like, "Scotty, I drive on the highway I'm doing 120, 130
On a regular
all the
basis.
time.
Yeah, just to
I said,
catch up to people.
every time I got to try to catch a car, like if a car goes by me at 95 miles an hour, how fast do you think I have to go to catch that fucking guy?
By the way, real quick, for any fucking civilians that are listening, did you hear that? A lot of times I'll see someone say, I just had a trooper pass me at 100 and whatever miles an hour. Where's he going? Well, maybe nowhere because it's not an emergency, but he or she may be going after somebody that just went by them at 95. The only way for them to fucking get up to speed is to go 120 or 130 to
Right.
catch that person that was going 95.
Right. You
So
can't.
that's one of the reasons, one of the potential reasons.
Right.
Also, there could be that individual just driving like an asshole.
You can't.
That's another reason.
You can't catch a car going 95 if you're only going 70.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen.
Physics don't work out like
It
that.
doesn't happen that way. So, and also because we would, like, on the highway in Wurtsboro, I covered from exit 116 to exit 104 in Monticello. That was my post.
So anybody may not know that. How many miles approximately?
That would be 12, probably 16.
16 miles.
Yeah, probably 16. So
It's a
if I
decent
get,
run.
so if I had like a serious PI, like serious personal injury accident, or or something like that, on like the Wurtsboro Mountain, and I happen to be gassing up at exit 104, because I would gas up like 3 times a day, because the cars would, you're wringing its neck all day long, and it just doesn't get good gas mileage. So if I had to get down there in any type of speed, I would have to go that fast to get to that end of the post. And I would usually throw my lights on to do that because I don't want anybody just to run, rush in front of me. But yeah, so it's speed was always necessary because you don't want to only take it out of the bag when you need it. You kind of have to practice it a little bit. So like going back to the Monticello guys, when I would ride with them, the fastest they probably ever went going to calls was maybe 60.
Yeah.
So, and to me, going 100 wasn't a big deal because I did it all the time chasing cars.
Another strong attribute to a good driver is something that Ed, was it Ed you said his name was? Or Edwards, his last name was Edwards?
Scotty Edwards, yeah.
Scotty Edwards said, is being calm, right? When you're driving at that high speed, is maintaining your calmness.
And I'm looking way down. I'm looking, is there a car pulling out? Is there a pedestrian over here? What's going on over there? Like I'm scanning everything like repeatedly as I'm going down.
Let me ask you this. How many fucking times did you work at midnight or work with another police officer, trooper, whatever it may be, and they're the ones driving and they're going to a caller and they shit themselves or they're in fucking pure panic mode. Those are the guys that aren't necessarily the greatest drivers. And you're like, bro, fuck out.
Yeah.
I got you. Let's get the fuck out.
I would usually have to take it. I would have to put on my EVOC hat and I'd be like, listen, guy, this is what you got to do. Like after it was all over, I'm like, let's go have a driving lesson. And we would go somewhere and I'd start to explain some of these things because not every trooper hears it. Like maybe your FTO didn't talk about it at all. Maybe, I was also an FTO. So if I had a recruit that I was training that wasn't the greatest driver, we concentrated on just driving. And then we do all the police work after. I'm like, listen, we got plenty of time to get UPMs and DWIs. I need to know that you can drive. So, and it's my job as your FTO and as an EVOC instructor to make sure that you can do that.
So just bringing this around full circle, the whole purpose of bringing up the trajectory of the technology in the vehicles is obviously as the technology progressed, the likelihood of getting into accidents and the danger increases, not only because of the technology, because of the vehicle wanting to tell you to do something that you're not supposed to be doing because of safety reasons, but also it's getting more dangerous because of the amount of people out there on the road and the amount of people that have that same technology in their car and the amount of people that are on their cell phones not paying attention.
And they rely on that technology. That's the problem.
And
they rely on it to work.
That's the key component is not having the technology, is relying on technology for you to be an everyday good driver.
Now, personally, when I would drive like the Charger, I would turn all that stuff off. It's not recommended, but I did it because I knew that if I had it on, it was going to screw me up.
I'd rather rely on me and my driver than my vehicle making a decision.
I'll take the days on the beach if I fuck up over me fucking up because the car is like wanting to do something. And I'm like, no, don't do that.
Blowing red lights. So it gets back to that.
Yeah, we could do that. Yeah.
Real quick. It's a really big one that I think many law enforcement oversee. I was the same way. I know that you recommended and you implemented the stop at the stoplight while your lights and sirens, make sure everything's clear.
Yeah.
I was very close to that. I don't know if it would be a stop sign stop, but it would
No,
be
no, no,
a
no.
rolling stop to where you get to the point where you can make sure, maintain
The-
that there's nothing going on.
The way I would describe it was be going slow enough where if somebody is in front of you or crosses in front of you, you can still stop and not hit them. So you weren't, yeah, it was not a textbook stop sign stop. You know what I mean? It was a be going slow enough stop, like you're rolling. And I would do, we implemented a thing called vehicle language. So just like what Ed was talking about with body language, you watch how they are, right? They're bladed. How are they, are their shoes tied when you're looking at them? If their shoes are untied, are they going to run from you? Probably not.
Yeah.
If their shoes are tied, that means that it's go time. You know what I mean? If they're going to start lining you up, or they do the up and down, you know what I mean? That's their vehicle. That's their body language. In my world, we turned it into vehicle language. So you're coming up to a light, you got the roof fired up, the sirens going. As you're coming up, what are you looking for from the other cars? Do they see you? If they slam on the brakes, right, and the nose of the car goes down, that means they're slamming on the brakes. If they're looking at you, like, where's their face? Can you see their face? Or do you see the side of their face? That means they're not looking at you. Maybe they're looking at a fucking bird in the air. You know what I mean? But you would do that, and if it was multiple lanes that you were crossing, you would have to do that for the first car, and then I would move up and then look for the second car, because the second car doesn't know that in the lane next to them, why is that guy stopping? He doesn't see me. So if I'm inching out and he's rolling in, and then he stops. He looks at me and stops. So then I go. So as soon as I would make, it was the two things: the nosedive of the brakes and the eye contact. If I had those two things, I just put my foot right to the floor and just blasted through, because I knew that that window doesn't stay open for very long. So those were the things I looked at, and that's what we taught a lot with stuff like that, because we were getting a lot of intersection collisions that were unnecessary,
Yep.
Completely unnecessary.
Well, they are higher risk because you see it all the time. Us as law enforcement want to blast through intersections, and obviously it's across. So your likelihood of crashing is much more.
Right. And if I could just add something real quick, and what we always taught was, if you wreck at that intersection, whatever you were going to, so even if it's something like,
you're now useless.
If it's a trooper screaming on the radio that he's being shot at, if you blast somebody at an intersection, not only does that trooper still need help, but now you need help.
Yeah.
So now we have to split resources.
Yep.
So you're useless. You are fucking useless.
Yep.
So yes, people get they're like, oh my God, the guy was being shot at. Yeah, I know that, but you still got to get there.
You're doing no fucking good with being spun out, getting T-boned,
right,
or you T-boning somebody.
Yeah, exactly. And now you got a broken leg and you need help, and now you're screaming for help on the radio.
Since we're talking about accidents and speed and red lights, how about insurance and implications on your driving history if you're a law enforcement officer and you're involved in any type of accident with another motor vehicle? That's the one thing I never had.
I'm glad you brought that up, because we didn't even talk about that, and I'm so glad you did, because I dealt with that a lot in the traffic office.
You know who that came from? Tommy Fortuna.
Oh.
Tommy was rear-ended.
Good job, Tuna.
752.
752. 255, I'm en route. That's the shit that I used to hear. So, real quick, I just want to say, because we talked about it before, but I want everybody to hear it. I want him to hear it.
Yeah,
Tommy, when I was in Wurtsboro as a young trooper, we could hear you guys on the radio in Middletown, and it would always be 2F25 Middletown, I'm en route. And I'm like, who is that guy? He's fucking awesome. I'm like, he's like a big cartoon. And then sure enough, when I met him, he's a big fucking cartoon. He's got giant hands like Mickey Mouse. You know what I mean? Or a big bear smacking the shit out of you. You know what I mean?
Highly animated.
Big oven mitts, highly animated.
Yes.
I'm like, that guy's fucking awesome.
He is, Tommy.
Yeah,
Tommy, you're a legend.
Tommy Tuna. Yeah.
To this day, still at fucking 63 years old, he's a legend.
Yeah, when I 63, oof.
No, he's younger than me. I'm just joking, buddy.
I gave him a license plate when he left. I made him a traffic that says I used to cut the plates and glue them together, and I wrote it said I heart, and I made a heart, like I fucking painted it on the plate. I heart Tuna, and gave it to him. That was his going away present.
So he had a good talking point, which he's working for T-Sled down in which he said he didn't want to talk about, but surprise, motherfucker! I just said it.
Too fucking bad, Tommy.
He was rear-ended while in his work vehicle.
Okay,
and he wasn't sure, because he's never dealt with that before, what the implications were. The reason was because I believe his personal insurance sent him something. I guess they did the accident report wrong.
Yep.
And they put it in his name and it automatically went to his personal insurance.
Yep.
I don't know if that's common here in New York, but he said, talk about that and the implications of driving
Absolutely.
involved in accidents.
Absolutely. We can talk about that.
Yeah.
So there's a reason why. So when I was in traffic, all the sergeants that I used to kick back your reports, because with the troop car accidents, I had to approve the accident report because there were certain criteria that I had to look for to make sure when it went to DMV that it had the proper codes, that it would show that it was police vehicle, the proper insurance codes, all that shit, to show that it was a police vehicle. It was owned by a police agency.
And also, I would imagine it has to be during a police activity.
So there would be two things. It would be either emergency operation or non-emergency operation. Now, non-emergency operation would be like you hit a car deer. But if you hit a deer on your way to a call, if you're going to a call, Bergen Progress, even just going to an EID, you don't even have to have your lights on. Emergency operation, everybody always thought that you had to have your lights and siren on. You don't have to have your lights on. If you're en route to something you were assigned, if you pick up the phone at the station and said, yeah, so-and-so is trespassing on my property. Okay, I'll take a ride out there. And on your way there, you hit a deer or you go in a ditch or somebody pulls out in front of you and you T-bone them. That is considered emergency operation. Emergency operation would be so that DMV knew what you were doing. Non-emergency operation would, and then because it was how did it work? Something with it would show up on your driver abstract if it was non-emergency operation, but it would not show up on your driver abstract if it was emergency operation. It wasn't supposed to. So that's why I had to make sure, like I had to really scrutinize the reports to make sure, hey, what was this guy doing? Where was he going? Because you're really not specific here.
How often would that happen? Whether it be not necessarily you overlooking it, but how often would you get calls from insurance companies being like, Trooper Joe Jones here was involved in an accident, or would you hear about it later on from that Trooper Joe Jones?
I would hear about it later on from the troopers. So that would happen quite often. So in New York, the insurance companies are not allowed to raise your rates or penalize you in any way if you're in an emergency vehicle, whether you're in emergency operation or not, doesn't matter.
Or at fault or not,
doesn't matter. Even if you're at fault, you're in a New York State Police vehicle, your personal insurance cannot tag you for that. So I had a copy of the insurance policy, the insurance code, because I called my own insurance agent. I said, hey, what's the law on this? And he told me. So I found it. I copied it. I'd keep it in a Word document. Anytime, Joe Schmo Trooper would call me and tell me this story, I would say, here, this is the insurance law. Call your insurance company, ask them for an email, and email this to them. And tell them
they're fucking retards.
Yeah, tell them they're fucking retards, and then also tell them that they cannot raise your rates. It's illegal for them to raise your rates. So that happened quite often, unfortunately, because like the car deer, if it was not an emergency operation, show up on the driver abstract, and then when your insurance company goes to renew you, so now this wouldn't happen for another 6 months when they renew your policy. They would go to renew your policy, and they'd see on your driver abstract that you had a property damage MVA.
Yep.
And they'd be like, oh, there you go. Now your rates are up. But it wasn't supposed to be if it was in a police vehicle, in a division vehicle. Now, I don't know how the laws are in the Carolinas where he is, but I know that it's like that here. And if he really wants, I can give him the New York insurance law. I'll reach out to him at some point later on.
That's interesting. That's something that I would suspect that a significant amount of our members are not well aware of.
Don't know.
And they should. That's important. You talked. You sent some numbers as far as accidents, deaths, and all of that regarding police accidents.
Yeah.
You want to just talk about some of those dynamics?
We can talk about that. Yeah.
And if there's anything that you're like, oh shit, I got to talk about this first, or please do. I
think we're doing good.
Brainstorming here, making sure we're going through everything.
I know like line of duty deaths for a long time were mostly motor vehicle related for the state police. However, when I looked at the line of duty death on PBA website just recently, like the last 10 years have been 9/11 sicknesses. That has kind of eclipsed the motor vehicle thing. Not that all of it's bad.
Yeah.
Fuck. Nobody wants to see any of that. But for a while, it was like more than half of the line of duty deaths were motor vehicle related. Somehow, whether it was, back in the 20s and 30s and 40s, motorcycles, those fucking poor bastards. They were dying on motorcycles
Oh,
every other day. You look in the early years,
yeah.
and then moving on to the later years, it was, you know, it was obviously cars. But like probably the last 10 to 15 years have been mostly 9/11 sickness.
Yeah. Well, even if we're not talking about deaths, I would suspect also a significant amount of injuries on our job are related to car accidents,
Oh, yeah,
vehicle
for sure.
as well.
For sure. We all know somebody that went out on a car accident
Yep.
that, you know, that, and it was legit, and you know, they got T-boned or whatever, or, you know, you're trying to do your job. The thing is that most people don't understand also is that because you're driving an extra 300 or 400 miles, usually a day, sometimes less, sometimes more, whatever. Even if you go between 200 and 400 a shift, depending on where your station is and how rural your station is.
Yeah.
I imagine the guys up in like the AB area, they're putting, you know, 300-400 miles a shift on.
Yeah.
If I was running up and down the highway, I would probably put anywhere between 250 and 300, depending on how much shit I got tied up with. But the laws of physics will tell you, or the, you know, laws of whatever the fuck that would be, like you're now I'm at loss for words.
No, keep going, keep going.
All right, guys, start hitting the fucking comment button. Start hitting the comment button. Here it is. He's melting down. No, in other words, like you're driving way more than everybody else is.
Yeah.
So your likelihood of getting in an accident
sure.
is way fucking higher.
Yeah.
In fact, one of the stats I did have was law enforcement officers in general 10 times higher of being killed in a car accident than a regular person that doesn't drive for a living.
Yep.
That doesn't
for
drive
obvious
all the time.
reasons.
Yeah.
Not only how much they drive, but the manner in which they drive.
The manner in which they drive. Right.
Probably
You're not
more important.
We're not going buying groceries, folks.
Right.
We're going to save somebody's life. So, you know, when you see it sometimes, what you were talking about earlier, sometimes if you see a troop car blow by you and blow your fucking doors off, and maybe the lights are on, maybe the sirens are on, maybe none of them are on. Maybe it's a call that requires that not to be, because maybe we don't want to alert somebody to us coming for them.
So in other words, maybe it's an emergency type situation, but the implications of having your lights on are far more dangerous than having them off.
Correct.
So there are certain situations where we need to
be a little stealth.
Stealth is the best way.
We don't want to
put
tip off the bad guy that we're fucking coming for him. But we hear sirens miles away.
But we still need to fucking get there with urgency. So
right.
There are those times. They are a lot more far and few between now, but they still do happen.
Yeah.
Probably a few times a day throughout the state, I would imagine.
Yeah.
I would say for sure.
But
driving, real quick, driving habits. We typically, as police, have these driving habits of, I don't want to call it aggressive, but like alpha driver, right? Like
I would say yes. Yeah.
Like pretty dominant, especially if you're a confident driver. You get, I know I've been in situations where you're trying to, I don't want to say push cars off the roadway, but if you're trying to get a car over and they don't see you, there's ways to get them to see you, flashing your lights, splitting the car so they could see you.
Yeah, I used to drive off over the yellow line onto the rumble strips.
So not only could they hear you, but if they looked in they could
see the headlights flashing,
exactly.
Like with the lights going. Yeah.
So we tend to, as law enforcement, have those driving habits while we're on duty. And then a lot of us, probably more than not, transfer those same driving habits on our off-duty status.
So off-duty, yeah.
And look what happened just less than a week ago down here in Wallkill. The city of Kingston police officer. The shooting? You did not see it. Tell me you didn't see that.
I did not see that. Oh, now you got
just the other day. Yeah, just the other day. And I was actually a town away beyond Dolson Town, where it crosses Dolson and 211. There was an off-duty city Kingston police officer in a road rage incident with a gentleman. The witness via, 12 News?
Okay.
Indicates that both drivers were driving aggressively.
Uh-huh.
The Kingston officer actually, as the perp, if you will, the other guy, not even a perp in this case, the other road rage guy, he tried to pass the police officer in his pickup truck, he tried to push him off the road.
Of course.
It gets to a point where this gentleman gets in front of the police officer, off-duty police officer, is very important to note, and he stops in the roadway, as you would as a police officer. You 45 him.
Yeah, yep.
45 him.
Yeah, block
stops,
the road.
Gets out of the vehicle. He's very demonstrative, very, very adamant, and very angry. You see cars passing in the opposite direction, and then there is a point. Then it's narrated by the witness who say, "Oh," he's like, "What the fuck are these guys doing? None of this is fucking worth it." He's literally saying it.
Yeah.
So the it's a white police officer and it's a black operator of the other vehicle, and the guy videoing is a black guy. And when they interview him, he's like, both these guys are both being fucking insane.
Yeah.
But the passenger, the guy that cuts off police officer, gets out, starts talking to him, and then he tries to reach in the car, and the police officer shoots him 3 times.
Oh.
3 rounds go off. I believe he got 1 in the neck and 1 in the chest. I don't know. He's in critical condition now, but from what I understand through the grapevine via texting, is that he admitted to the investigators that he either threatened with a knife or displayed a knife when he reached in to strike the off-duty police officer. So those are...
We're going to have to wait for that to come out.
That's exactly, regardless of what the truth of the fact is, whether a guy had a knife or not, whether the shooting was justified or not, it is important. But more important is the road rage aspect of it.
Right.
Is... I don't know the police officer. I don't know what got to the point where it was like that. We all sometimes get to the point where we kind of feel like we're losing it.
Yeah.
But you just never know. And it's so important to disconnect. And it's nowadays, you just don't know.
Yeah, nowadays, you
those road rage incidents.
You got to just fucking call it.
If you see somebody.
Call the barracks and get on the phone with somebody that you know is working, or get on the phone with the desk and just keep following them around. If you really want the guy to stop that bad. But like
a lot of the comments were fuck around and find out. The guy got a dose of what he expected.
That seems like that's a comment for a lot of things nowadays, though.
And the other was, this guy was shot because he was black, which I don't know if any of them apply in this. I just know it probably should have been avoided.
I mean, the whole thing could have been avoided.
Could have been avoided.
If the guy's passing you and you try to run him off the road, I mean, that's probably where you should have not done that.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Again, who knows
if he's going to pass you, let him go by at least.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Whatever. Fuck it. Let him go.
Yep. Anyway, I just wanted to bring that up. It kind of fit into where we're talking about. I thought for sure you heard about that. It was,
no, I didn't.
I want to say it was Thursday.
No,
it just happened.
I didn't hear about that.
I'll send you the link on it.
We just got sliced bread last week up in Sullivan County, so I didn't fucking. I don't hear it all.
When we did
I don't hear it all right away.
Tommy, remember when we did the podcast with you? His internet was like the old AOL dial-up. He was all pixelated. He was going.
Yeah. Well, that's why, if anybody's wondering, that's why I'm sitting here. I got fucking no internet up there. I got nothing.
This is pretty cool to have another guest down in the dungeon here. Where are we going? What else we got to talk about? There's a lot of things here.
I know there's a lot. I'll give a shout out to Nate Shock because he told me I got to tell him that he was my. I'm supposed to say he was my favorite recruit.
He wanted me to ask you. He wanted me to say that. Whether that's I don't know.
He wanted me to tell him he's my favorite recruit. Matt Hines is like I guess Matt Hines has to be a close second now because Nate has to be my favorite.
He wanted me to ask you about when he was in Wurtsboro. You guys were together, but he was left at the station for one reason or another, and a hot call came in. I want to say it was winter, and you came into Wurtsboro on 2 wheels, and and then you backed out or something. He was telling me, I forget did you remember what happened with that?
I kind of vaguely do. If I came in on 2 wheels, it was probably, he jumped in the car and I went backwards, did the old bootlegger turn, the old
yes.
J turn.
That's what it was, the J turn.
So in those days, I had just learned how to do a J turn. And if anybody doesn't know what a J turn is, it's not that J.
No,
it's a different J. It's an actual J turn. You back up really fast, you spin the wheel as the car spins around, like the momentum spins you around, and then as you start to go where you want to be, you slap it and drive, put your foot on the gas, and it kind of slingshots you into it's a very quick way to change direction. So for a very long time, I would do those every chance I got. I would do them at the EVOC track all the time, to the point where when my bosses there would hear the screeching, they would immediately know that it was me, no matter where I was on the complex, even if they couldn't see me. They would already know it was me. I got in, I would say, a fair amount of trouble at the EVOC track because I was always doing shit that I probably shouldn't have been doing and I get it because they didn't want me to damage the cars because the cars were already on their last leg all the time anyway. But then I started bringing my own troop car up there and I would just do it to that one.
Yep.
I remember, and I'll have to give this shout out to Don Fougier. You remember, Don Fougier?
Remember the name.
Him and I also went to EVOC school together. So we would always, we would do everything. It was me, Ben Arberg, and Don. We would always do the Smokey and the Bandit quotes. every fucking time that we could. Like, you some bitch, like that shit. You know, when I get home, I'm gonna punch your mom on the mouth. Like all that nonsense. Like if you've seen the movie, you know,
Yep.
I don't know if you've seen it, but like,
Yep.
so we would do all that stuff. But like when we started experimenting with the new cars, he had a Caprice, and he's like, let's see how this shapes up against a Crown Vic. So at the time, this was probably 2011. I had my trusty BlackBerry. Shout out to all the BlackBerry users out there. Fucking missed my phone. I took my visor on my passenger side. I put it down and rubber banded my BlackBerry to it, hit record. And I chased him through our road course, which was like probably like I would have to guess it was probably about a mile road course, but it's all cones and shit, it's lane changes and stuff like that. It's high speed, it's low speed, all that stuff. And I'm chasing him through the course, and I get to the point where I'm just driving so fast that, you know, there's nothing to hit. So I'm just holding it wide open, and I'm going through this section where it's like real turns, like, and the car starts skating one way, and I'm like, oh, here it is. And I start wheeling it back the other way, and it whips the other way, and I start wheeling it back the other way. And it actually gets to the point where I'm like, the grass edge would be like where you're sitting. So you see on the camera, all of a sudden the whole car, you can see the hood of the car and the push bar, the whole car faces the grass, and then it whips straight again. And he's already gone. And he was like, what happened? And I showed him the video. And of course, we're fucking laughing our ass off. That's because the Crown Vic just could not hang with that car, handling and acceleration. I mean, it was just amazing. But there was always funny stories there. But like, we would do shit like that. And this is to go back to, you know, this has no point. It's not like this doesn't have a point. We would get to the track early as instructors, and I would mess around with the courses because I wanted to be good at these courses. I wanted to just not be good. I wanted to be fucking awesome at them. When I went through the EVOC school, I had Matt Daly, Leon Williams, Rich Doucette. Those were like my fucking idols. Those were my icons. These motherfuckers could drive. Like, anybody that walked in that sat down in a car, you tried to be like them. You wanted to pull a lap time like they did. That skill course that I was talking about, you know, you think you're doing it fast. Like, I think I qualified around like maybe 120 or 125. And I thought I was the fucking man. I'm fucking high-fiving people and shit. Meanwhile, Leon Williams jumps in a car, and then Matt does it right after him. And they pull down like a 110. I'm like, 110? I'm like, literally 15 seconds faster than me. And I'm like,
a lot of time.
Humbling? Let me tell you something. I just cowered in the corner after that. But the point I was trying to make was, we wanted to be good. You didn't want to you wanted to be awesome at those courses, because you didn't want some recruit to come in and show you up.
Yeah.
Like, when we would teach the instructor schools, like I taught towards the end of EVOC, I taught the schools that made troopers instructors. So I didn't teach recruits anymore. And we would tell these guys, you know, 150 is passing to be an instructor. That's just the baseline. But I would tell them, I'm like, you guys better, if you're a 140 or higher, you better practice, because you're going to get some guy that used to race dirt track or used to race cars, and he's going to come in here and he's going to smoke your ass, and you're going to feel like shit. And you're the instructor, and he's only done this course 16 times, and you've done it hundreds, and you can't hang with him. So it was always one of those things. Like, I would always practice and practice and practice, whether it was getting there early to the track or getting there or staying after. When the recruits would go back to the hotel, we would do like road course competitions. We would do the road course, and it would be like one car at a time. You time it, and we would make it so that the finish line was way down, so that you're crossing the finish line at 110, 120 miles an hour. And it was just, it was fun.
Yeah.
That's how we had fun doing stuff like that. And we would just push each other to be better. Sorry, that was my tangent.
Winter driving and vehicle maintenance.
Okay.
The importance of that. That was one of the things you highlighted, you want to talk about.
Yeah.
Like last night, I don't know how much snow you got, but there's anywhere from 4 to 6 inches.
Yeah, like 3 or 4,
something like that. But as an overnight, first of all, the night shift, cleaning off the cars for the day shift, cleaning off your cars in general, just keeping them clean.
Yeah.
That should be a priority.
Yeah.
The first thing you do before you go out, cleaning off your cars. How many times?
Do not go out on the fucking road with that hat on the fucking roof.
With the fucking tower.
And it's for so many reasons. You don't want the snow to blow off and go through somebody's windshield, right? That's one. The second one is, if you go to throw your overhead lights on, can anybody see that they're even on?
Right.
No, they're covered up. You got to take all that shit off.
You have a quote in here by somebody.
Oh, so Vinny DeLango. So, and it's funny that because Ed Rasso mentioned Vinny in his
Yes.
that he was running up the hill when he was when he was fighting that guy.
Yep.
Vinny DeLango says to me, we're teaching the in-service, and we start there. We were talking about winter driving, but I added I would always add some things that I would see all the time that I was like, you know what, this message really needs to get out. Like I would see cars, like troop cars all the time with snow on the roof, or the back window is covered in snow. And I'm like, guys, you're not just some Joe Schmo. You got to lead by example a little bit. Like it sounds corny, I know, but lead by example. Fuck's sake. Like Jesus, like it would just aggravate me so much.
Well, it's not only the importance of keeping your vehicle clean, and you check it obviously after every shift if you had to defend it in there or not to make sure there's no paraphernalia or
Right.
evidence, but also your tires, making sure your tires are good. There's no nails in your tires.
Right.
Making sure all your lights are operable and correct. There's so many
things,
lazy things that we overlook.
I can't even tell you how many times in Wurtsboro I'd walk out to a car and like somebody would pull into the parking space and the wheels would be turned, so I could see the treads of both front wheels, fucking bald. And I'm like, guys, what are we doing here? And I look at the rears and they're the same. I'm like, what are you doing?
Get them. It's free. Get them fucking changed.
Yeah, it's free. Exactly. So the thing with Vinny DeLango was, we're teaching this in service, and I'm going through the list of things like, hey guys, when it's winter, make sure you start your car up, get it warmed up, clear off all the snow. When you're driving around, if it's actively snowing, just keep hitting the rear defroster. Like keep making sure that little light is on, because it'll keep your rear window defrosted and it'll keep the snow from staying on it.
Yep.
So I get through my whole spiel of all that, and Vinny fucking goes, Mike, why the fuck are you telling us all this? I'm like, unfortunately, Vinny, people need to hear this. And he's like, isn't this common sense? I said, yes, it is. It is common sense, but there are people that need to hear this. And I'm sorry that you're not one of them. I'm glad you're not one of them, but I'm sorry that you have to hear it. So, yeah, that was, and it was something that had happened so often that I felt like I needed to be addressed.
What are your thoughts on old days? I think it was a lot more relevant than it is today, but being on patrol during, let's just say, it doesn't matter what shift, one shift or two shift, A line, B line, C line, and going into the station while your vehicle's still running. Were you a advocate of that, or did you not like that idea?
I left the vehicle running all day, all night. Didn't matter. Summer, winter, fall, didn't matter. Because every time you turned it off, you had to log the computer off. If you didn't log the computer off, you got kicked off. If you got kicked off, you had to call the fucking desk and have them reset it or whatever the fuck, and then do that. Or the car was supposed to have a device in the back that would shut the computer off after a certain amount of time if the vehicle was off, but then half the time they never worked. So you'd leave the car off for like 2 hours and you go out there, the computer's still on, and then you turn the key and you get click, 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 click. My position on that was, it's an emergency vehicle. It needs to be ready to go 24/7. So that means my computer needs to stay logged in. It needs to be on, and my battery needs to not be dead when I have to go to a call. So if I'm in the station for 20 minutes or whatever, and I would always have sergeants that would routinely, because being in Wurtsboro, all the sergeants that would be from Orange County would come through Wurtsboro, take a car, and go to Liberty, and because they would be a Liberty sergeant. And I would always have them say something to me. Always.
Dave Scott.
Ray Walter.
Oh, Dave.
Yeah, Dave Scott actually took my car one day at Middletown because I left it unlocked. Why I left it unlocked? Because it was behind the fucking gate that's also locked. That's why I left it unlocked. But after that, I locked it every time. At Wurtsboro, I would lock the car all the time. I keep the remote on my belt.
Because it was open to the public.
It was open, right.
In Middletown, so for anybody who doesn't know, in SP Middletown, Trip F, it was a gated area. Extremely unlikely that you have other things to worry about if there's someone in that area that's not supposed to be there other than somebody stealing a troop car.
Right. Dave took my car, put it around the whole back of the building.
So,
and I'm like, oh.
He would be known for taking your car if you left it unlocked. Yeah. That's why I brought that up.
My position on that was, it's an emergency vehicle. You need to be ready to go at a moment's notice. So, and that went the same for like guys that would come in, it would be snowing or whatever. I'm like, guys, as soon as we get in, we got to get out to the parking lot, wipe off every single car, not just the one you're going to use, wipe them all off, start them up, move them. So when the plow guy comes through, he can plow the snow, and then put the cars back so that they're all ready to go now.
It's funny how it's fascinating to me how certain personalities have, like, that's the way I was taught and that's the way I always thought. But there's other thought processes of, well, that car is the one that we don't use that much, so I'll let the 14 inches of snow, just sit on that because we're probably not going to use it. You don't know, especially in policing, what your day's going to consist of.
No idea.
So if you take care of that first thing,
right,
and you don't need it,
right,
fine, you don't need it. What's it going to take? Obviously, there's scenarios where you can't do that.
Yeah.
You know, you first come in and you get your car cleaned and there's a hot one, you got to go out.
Right, exactly.
And it may
or
take a while.
if it's actively snowing and the highway's a fucking mess,
Right.
then I get it. But when the snow stops, that all needs to be taken care of. Whoever's working. I don't want to hear no bullshit about, oh, I got to go write a ticket or I got to go do this or I got to do that. No, back to the fucking station. And in the old Wurtsboro days, I would go fucking ballistic. And all the Wurtsboro guys that are watching, I have really mellowed out. I got to be honest. With you. I mean, I'm drinking water, not Monster. I almost bought a Monster on my way here just for it to sit there, just for the comment section, like just so that I could just do that. But I really have mellowed out a lot. But it was the passion. It was, hey guys, let's make sure that we don't make a mistake that is fatal for later.
Yeah. Like
somebody needs, again, I'll tell you about the half tank rule that I have. I'll get into that after. Yep. But like, if I'm out on the highway and it's me and one other guy working and he's on the other side of the post and there's one car left in the parking lot, but that thing is now covered in 14 inches of snow. And a guy comes in for like a flex shift and I'm out there going, hey, I need some help out here. My troop car just got rear-ended or whatever the fuck. And now this guy's got to spend 10 minutes taking the snow off the car. And it might actually be stuck in that spot. It may not, the rear-wheel drive Crown Vics, it might be stuck there. He may not even be able to get out of that spot if there's high enough snow behind it. So those were the things that I always thought about ahead of time. And my other platoon partner for that would be Jason Cole. And him and I would take turns going ballistic on the station for shit like that. He was the platoon 2 guy. I was a platoon 1 guy. We were both highway. We shared the car. We shared one F88. That was our car. But like we always made sure. And then, you know, of course, these jerk offs, they'd come in and they'd want to take our car because the other ones are covered in snow. I'm like, no, you can go uncover the other car.
So for anybody that doesn't know Mike, it doesn't fucking seem possible, but this is definitely a toned down version. And I fucking love it because I kind of feel like it's circa 2008 or 9.
I mean, you've definitely dug some shit up. So
I touch a few nerves. I did my magic.
You're working it a little bit.
I worked my magic.
But yeah, we would
tanks. Talk about your half tanks.
Yeah, let's do the half tank rule. So I always had a half tank rule, and I actually taught that to my kids when they started driving, just for emergency purposes. I still do it now. I mean, my wife, you know, I love her to death. But
there's only certain battles you can fight.
Fucking Durango is always on a quarter. I don't know.
But
I love it. I love her. But anyway, so what I would do is I would tell these guys when the tank gets to half, then go fill it up. There is no shortage of gas stations pretty much anywhere
now. Yeah,
nowadays, even then.
But even remember the old school, you had to. There's only certain places you could gas.
That's
up.
right. At the very beginning, yeah, we would gas up at the town of Mamakating building. Yep. The highway department, which was right behind our building.
Yep.
So there's really no excuse there.
True. But troop, there's a gas.
Yeah,
at
gas
the
pumps
station.
there. Yep. So like when those went away, it became way easier, and I think that's when I really started getting into that rule. And the half tank rule was for a few reasons. If say you have a power outage, right? No gas station has an emergency pump or an emergency generator to run the pumps. So if you have to drive outside the area to go find a gas station that has power, can you do that when you only have 1/8 of a tank left? Probably not.
Right.
You're not going to get very far. That's one thing. That's convenience. If you run out of gas, it makes everybody look bad. If you have to be pushed into a gas station or somebody's out there with a fucking red can, the public perception of that is so bad. It says these guys are supposed to be like, you know, guarding us, like, you know, being our safeguards and, you know, saving our lives. And these fucking jerk offs can't even find a gas station without running out of gas. Like, you know what I mean? Like, come on. So embarrassment is one thing.
Yeah.
All puppies are awake. So the other thing is the more serious one is, when you're driving hard and either in a pursuit or going to a hot call, any car, whether it's the Ford Taurus, which they claim got 20 miles to the gallon, which I never saw.
No.
The Charger, the Crown Vic, the Tahoe, any of them will only get, I would say, conservatively 4 to 6 miles to the gallon. If you let the car go down to where the gas light is on, that's probably a gallon, maybe two. If you have a call, if you have somebody screaming for help, and you're the closest car by chance, like some of the more rural areas, like we got spoiled here in Middletown and even in Wurtsboro, I got kind of spoiled with knowing that my backup was only maybe 5-6 minutes away. But in the real rural areas, if you're the closest car to where this person is and the trooper's screaming for help and they're 20 miles away and you only have a gallon and a half of gas in the car and it gets 4 to 6 miles to the gallon when you're going 120 miles an hour, do the math. Are you going to get there?
Yeah.
Probably fucking not. Do you want to be the reason that trooper gets seriously injured or, God forbid, does not make it? Do you want to be that reason because you were too fucking lazy to fill up the gas tank?
Yeah.
So that is my half tank rule. So I really hope I would pound that into everybody's head.
So,
We
actually,
would talk about it at
good
Winter in Service.
Good segue. Any new troopers or police officers? Let's say troopers. I think that's where we're steering this episode into, mostly troopers, because that's what we were. Any new troopers, driving wise, what's a suggestion that you think would be probably pivotal for a new trooper that you can give as advice?
I would say you got to keep your head on a swivel. Try to learn more than what the job teaches you. Like, just like Ed said, I mean, it's really the stuff that he said is very relatable to what we're doing.
Yep.
It's being prepared. Now, I do not look like Ed Rasso. I mean, I'm like a fucking dump truck compared to him. But on the driving side of things, I like to think that I'm pretty prepared for a lot of things. So I would say be prepared. Go to the extra mile. If you see driving schools or whatever that are like either high performance driving schools or anything like that, go to them. Learn more. You can learn so much about vehicle dynamics and weight transfer and all that cool shit and trail braking and all the great stuff that you could learn from those things, from those schools, and you can apply it to the real world. A lot of the stuff I learned at Monticello Motor Club. Now, I was driving with guys that I'm an EVOC instructor for, whatever, how many years at that point. And I'm driving with guys at the motor club that are legitimate race car drivers. These guys are winning championships in multiple different facets of racing, rally schools, and all kinds of crazy stuff. So I'm driving with guys like that. The stuff that rubbed off on me from them was amazing. And I brought it to the state police as much as I could, as far as vehicle control. I didn't try to teach any of the crazy stuff, but like just controlling the car and doing all that stuff. But definitely try to get yourself to that point where you can be better than you are. You always can learn, always. I learn new shit all the time when I'm at the track with those guys. I even took a stunt driving school in 2022. It's for like movie stunt driving.
Oh, that's cool.
And it was amazing, the car control that you learn from these people.
Yeah.
You're like legitimately slamming on the emergency brake and locking up the rear tires and making turns, and you're not out of control. They're teaching you how to stay under control. But I mean, like the stuff I learned in 2 days, man, it wasn't cheap. It was pretty expensive to go to it. But what I learned in 2 days from them, I was able to bring to the state police and just as car control techniques. Like when you're out of control, hey, this is what to do. I wasn't teaching people to induce control, the skids.
2 last things, we can go as long as you want, but 2 last things that I want to bring up. The stressors of driving, like let's just talk about the tunnel vision effect, and also that adrenaline dump while you're driving to these hot calls and your decision making. How does that affect your decision making?
Yeah.
Your adrenaline. Like for guys like me and you, I feel that you can regulate. As you told from the Monticello guy that said that you were not only calm, but you drove amazingly. But a lot of times when you have that switch that goes off, especially for the officer needs assistance, or when like there's a large fight in progress and there's maybe only 1 or 2 cops there.
Right.
So you get that pucker effect and you want to get there. So that adrenaline is pumping.
Yeah.
And you got to make sure that you control that adrenaline and not push through it.
Yeah.
Right?
Because all the bad things can still happen on your way to that call.
More so.
Somebody, because you're going much faster.
But more importantly, because of your adrenaline and that, because when your adrenaline pumps in, you get laser focused.
Yes.
Laser focus is great in some aspects, but in others, it could be.
Yes.
Definitely.
When you're driving like that, you definitely need to be like this. Yeah. You need to be open. You need to see it all. Right. You need to evaluate, is that car going to pull out of the driveway that I'm coming up on? Does it see me? Or is it going to keep coming out? Should I cover the brake? Did I take my foot off the gas? You're thinking about all that stuff. You have to evaluate each one of those things as they're coming at you, because if you don't, you're going to hit somebody. It's just going to happen. You kind of lost my train of thought there.
When you're going in an emergency situation with your adrenaline going to a calls and stuff, were you the guy? Would you still utilize signals, or would you
like turn signals?
Turn signals? No.
No.
Why? Right.
If the emergency lights are on, I'm going whatever way I need to go.
Yeah.
That's what the public needs to know. Just stay the fuck out of the way.
Yeah.
You know, and that's another thing. Like the public doesn't, a lot of them never understood or didn't learn or whatever, always yield to the right. We should be passing on the left. They should yield to the right. That was always a thing. I mean, you can't teach that to the public. I mean, they just, you know, but you have to learn that when you're coming up on somebody, and that's that vehicle language, right? Like when you're coming up behind them, are they moving to the right because they're going to turn into a driveway, or are they moving to the right because they see you?
Yep.
Like you got to understand that when they see you, they're going to spike the brakes. That's the first thing they're going to do. So you always have to be looking for that and ready for that.
Yep.
So you have to keep that distance where like, okay, they spike the brakes and they move to the right. Those are two good indicators, really good indicators that I can get around them now safely. You know, so you're looking for all those things that a driver would be doing, things that is translating their thoughts through the movement of the vehicle. Even going down the highway, like I tell people, like my recruits all the time, when you're flying down the highway in the left lane and you see cars, you know, they're always going to like move away, right? Like if you're on 17.
Parting the sea.
Yeah, on 17,
Yep.
like in the right lane, they're going to move towards the fog line.
Yep.
If you see a car, like you're looking up ahead, that's moving towards the center line, you better take your foot off the gas and start covering the brake. Yep. Because you don't know what that car's about to do.
Yep.
They may not even look in the mirror and they're just going to go, hey, here we go. We're going to change lanes.
Many times that doesn't happen.
You know, are they coming up on somebody that's slower? You need to know that because you're doing 120, they're doing 70, and they're coming up on somebody going 50. So are they going to look in the mirror and see you first? You need to know that they could get in front of you and you need to be ready for that. That's why we're held to that higher standard, because you should be already figuring those situations out as you're coming up on them.
I don't know how many times, not a lot.
Just real quick, you've probably done this 1,000 times throughout your career or more, probably more than that, and not even realize what you were doing. But you were doing that. You were evaluating every car you drove by to figure out, is he a threat?
Yep.
Is he or she going to pull in front of me, or are they going to move away?
And I still do that to this day, which I'm sure you do.
Yes, absolutely.
As avid, my accidents and all the accidents I had were so stupid. Luckily, not involving other vehicles. But there's so many times.
We do have to get to that. I promised that we would talk about that. So for me, mine.
Oh, yours. Okay.
Yeah, mine.
We'll talk about yours. Yeah,
no. You guy though.
But I remember my last few years going down to Palisades Parkway, going to, you know, Palisades was like 30 something miles.
Yeah.
So if you have to go to the top where the Long Mountain Circle was, you have to haul ass to get fucking up there. And as we talked about, fucking idiots.
Yeah.
If you
will. They park themselves in the left lane.
Or it's even worse, parking themselves in the left lane sucks. But then if they see you with your lights on, I've had at least a half a dozen times where a driver would stop.
Yeah, literally
come to a complete stop in the passing lane as I'm approaching at $120.
Yep.
So like to your point, you have to
you have to be ready for that to happen.
Anticipate absolutely anything happening driving in emergency situations.
Yeah. And actually, it's funny because towards the end of my career, when we were covering the parks, I don't know, were you still there when we were doing that?
Yeah.
When we were starting to cover the parks?
Yep.
So I was doing that. And so I my first experience actually patrolling on the parkway.
It's a different beast out
was
there.
fucking scary.
Yeah.
I'd be, handling accidents or whatever out there. I'm like, this fucking sucks out here.
The Suckway Parkway sucked.
Oh, it's terrible.
For sure.
I'm like, no wonder why everybody gets hit out here all the time.
Toby Shuley was like this when I first started down there. We were heading to, I believe, a Sirius PI. We were stuck on going northbound, and we were going to hit a U-turn to go southbound, and we were humming along. And Toby gets on the air, and he's like, "I'm going to hit a U-turn here." Copy. U-turn here, and I didn't realize. I knew where there was a U-turn, but I didn't know there was an additional one. So he hung up on the brakes, and I locked him up. We laughed about it because we were humming when it happened.
Yeah.
But it was like a hidden U-turn that I didn't know about at the time. But he let me know at least 3 or 4 times, and he probably realized that I wasn't slowing down.
Yeah.
And I was still about 1.5 inches off his bumper.
Right. Yeah, like it's coming up right now.
Yeah, right now.
It's not the one you think it is. It's a secret one. It's a Batcave entrance.
He's like, Jay, how many times do I have to fucking tell you, slow down?
Jay, hit the brakes, Jay.
like now. So we talked about the stressors of driving at high speed, being aware of the other drivers around you. Before we wrap up, I want to talk about your family a little bit, your sons. And for me, that's the last thing I want to end on. But what do you want to talk about for your accident?
Oh, so I told Ty Ebert, make sure that he said to me, he goes, Mike, make sure you tell him how many accidents you got in. I'm like, all right, I'll tell him. I don't mind. I got in like 8 throughout my career, but not, a couple of car deer. one, I'm sitting at the gas pumps in Wurtsboro. Some jackass backs into my troop car, like literally folds the door in. One of them, I was chasing a stolen dirt bike, and he popped into the woods, and I was trying to track him like through the woods, and I'm backing up to try to see where he is, and I knocked the mirror off the car. A couple pursuits ended in a wreck. I remember one in Monticello. We chased this guy for a pretty long time, and it was one of the old body style Tahoes. So that 05, 06 with the thin lights, with the skinny little fucking truck tires on it. Locked up pretty good. Had no brakes left because it was like a 40-minute pursuit. I was the lead car. I drove right into the back of this guy, and the bad guy just drove right into him. No,
Yep.
no brakes at all, and shit like that. Got whacked by a tractor trailer pretty good on 17. Conan Dwelk was my recruit. He had 2 weeks on the job. He's driving. We pull in the U-turn by 113. It's pouring rain. It's like June or July, monsoon rain, and we pull in the U-turn. Some driver brakes check somebody because they see us. We don't have the lights on or anything. We're just sitting there, but we're perpendicular to the highway. So my passenger side, I'm on the passenger side, is exposed to westbound traffic, but in the U-turn. So this guy slows down for some reason. Tractor trailer avoids him. Jackknifes. So now the tractor trailer is coming towards us. The cab is facing up the hill. The trailer is facing me. And I'm like, well, there's no way this guy's going to stop. We're going to be dead in a minute here. So I like literally jumped out of my seat onto the center console as we're getting hit. And then I get jammed back against the door again as we're spinning around. And Conan's like, holy shit. I'm like, dude, we get out of the car. The highway's a mess. Everybody's crashing around us, because the tractor trailer got stuck in the middle of the road. So like, stuff like that.
Yep.
I mean, it happens though. Yeah. Like, you're gonna wreck shit. It's just gonna happen.
I wasn't gonna tell my story, and it's so coincidental that you brought up Ty Ebert, because one of my only accidents was with Ty Ebert.
He would always break my balls because he's like, I don't know how they made you an EVOC instructor with all those accidents. And I'm like, okay, guy. Like, I mean, and it's like literally 20 years later, we're still talking about this.
I'll talk about my Ty Ebert accident.
Okay.
It was a Sunday night snowstorm. It was early 2000s. And coincidentally enough, we went behind a few businesses, and we're doing some practicing EVOC.
Practicing EVOC.
And we go back to the station sometime on the overnight, and we got to go do a call. As we're exiting troop, make a right-hand turn.
Yep.
Not even 30 feet. Spin out.
You looped it.
I spin out, and I crushed a telephone pole, literally right in front of troop. Crush it. It looks like I was going 80 miles an hour.
Oh my God.
Completely folded the Crown Vic in.
Those front ends were bad though. They were made of fiberglass.
It was literally tinfoil.
The headlight bezel, that whole piece. Oh, I had a guy one time, I'm searching a car, he sat on it and broke it. I'm like, wow, that's
so this was the accident happened. It was Monday morning, early Monday morning, like sometime around 5 a.m., right before we split.
Right.
Because we split at 5 a.m.
Yeah.
It was right before that. We get into the accident, and now that sun comes up, it's drying up. The roads are pretty decent.
Yeah.
But I'm still out there because they have to reconstruct the accident because I got into an accident and it destroyed the car. So McCarthy, who's an old commercial vehicle guy, he was also asked for reconstruction. He has to come out and reconstruct it. And I have all the Monday morning, all the bosses,
everybody's driving by,
all the pedestrians, and I'm sitting out there with
every boss is driving by like
car
this.
Crushed.
Yeah, what were you doing? The roads are dry.
Yeah, you jackass.
Yeah.
So that was probably one of the most embarrassing accidents I had.
Yeah.
And that happens. It's the nature of the beast. It's the way you learn.
And that's exactly what we said. You're driving so many miles, shit's just gonna happen.
Yep.
And it's even like I felt like for a while I was like the bad luck magnet.
Yeah.
Like I was the black cloud because I'm like shit just kept happening to me.
The more you do, the more likely you're gonna get into something.
Right.
So your family, you have 3 children, 2 sons, right? You said 19 and 14?
Yep. Vesper's 14, Anthony's 19. I have a daughter, Sophia. She's 23.
I think it's so interesting when someone's children's mirror their parents' passion.
Yeah.
So both of your sons, are highly motivated.
Highly motivated.
Highly.
These kids can drive. I used to put hashtags on my Instagram that said my kids drive better than most adults.
And this isn't the past year or two. They've been doing this for at least 5+ years.
I got Anthony into go-karting when he was like 10, and because they're 5 years apart, my 2 boys. So And then Christopher also started when he was 5. So they both started at the same time, 5 and 10. And I would drive around the go-kart track. And so this is after I started working for Motor Club too. So I was starting to get a little bit of skill set from them. So I'm like, well, it's time for me to transfer that onto the kids. So we would drive the go-kart tracks, and I'd start in, like, we weren't driving like these crappy carts. Like, we would go to a place down in Westchester, which is like some fast stuff,
Yep.
40, 50 mile an hour carts. So I would be bumping these kids to let them realize how much faster they could be going, until it started getting to the point, a couple years, 2, 3 years into it, we're doing it. And now they're pulling out of the turns away from me. So I had to start putting weight in their cart so that we would actually be equal weight, because their skill set was developing so fast that they were kicking my ass. Like, now, if I get in a go-kart with them, the two of them will absolutely smoke me. Absolutely smoke me. They both race.
Do either one of them have aspirations to continue that line of?
Well, they both just got their SCCA provisional licenses, which is Sports Car Club of America. That's like where the kind of entry level Mazda Miata race car type stuff.
Yep.
They both got their race car licenses over the summer, and they want to start doing that. I mean, I don't know. We're trying to figure all that out, I guess. But
so yeah, it's serious for them.
So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I bought a car for them. I'll tell you a quick story. Anthony had just turned 16. I'm on Marketplace, and I bought a new Integra, the new Acura Integra, and I always wanted one, like, when I was a kid. And then when they actually came out with them, it was a 4-door, but whatever. When they came out with them as a new car, I'm like, I want to buy one. I want a manual. I've had a manual for the past, I think, since 2004. I've had a manual transmission car till now, like something in the family. And I just bought that car, and I'm like, Anthony, you're not learning how to drive stick on my brand new car. I'm like, I found out that the clutch costs, roughly $1,800 or $1,900 after, for the whole job.
And it's going to get burnt out.
So I'm like, yeah, right. So I was like, if I, like, what's this going to cost me if I do let him drive it? And then I found on Marketplace, I scroll there pretty frequently. I found a 2005 Corolla with 300 something thousand miles on it at a junkyard, running and driving. They were going to crush it. So I called the guy up, $375. Oh. I went up there with my buddy's car trailer, and I picked it up, and we had to do a couple little minor repairs to it. And I took him over to Randall Airport, where we were doing our Durango training. I took him there for the day, took the car off the car trailer, and I taught both of them how to drive stick on that car. And the clutch was already toasted. Yep. But I have a great video of Christopher. At the time he was 11 or 10. Either 10 or 11, banging gears, banging gears. Awesome.
I just had this discussion. I forget where it was. We went to a football game 2 weekends ago, and it was a crowd more towards our age, my age, and we're talking about a lost art in young kids and even adults is driving a manual transmission.
Yep.
So many people do not know how to drive a manual transmission.
Everybody in my family can. My daughter can. Both my boys. My wife. She.
Yeah. Do you think that's accurate? It's a lost art, right? How many people are so easy now? They have the paddle shifters. My wife has the Acura RDX.
Yeah, those are fake though. It's fake manual.
Well, people don't know.
Real manual is 3 pedals. 3 pedals on the floor. You only have 2 feet, 3 pedals. Figure that out. You know what I mean? Like, that's real manual. But yeah, it's absolutely a lost art. I mean, they call it like the millennial anti-theft device. Yep. Is what they call it now. But I mean, I think it's very important to know how to drive something like that. So, they started with that, and, the kids drove around the course a little bit. I made like a little cone course for them, and they loved it. And then now we just bought recently, I bought a taxi, which from that stunt school that I went to.
Okay.
So it looks like a taxi, but it's actually a stunt vehicle from an old TV show. And it has hydraulic rear brakes, like a big e-brake pedal that you slam on, and it only locks the rears.
Oh,
and it can spin the car around. I put it on my Facebook the other day.
That's cool.
But I bought that so that I could teach them how to do some car control, because I'll probably do the same thing. I'll probably go out to Randall. I'll talk to the guy, and he'll let me go out there, and we'll go and mess around with the car a little bit, and I'll show him how to do some car control stuff.
Yep.
So
that's awesome.
But I think it's very important because you need to know it.
Yeah, it's one of the most important aspects of our job and life. To be honest with you, is driving safely and understanding what to do in a shit situation.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it makes no sense for me to like grow old and not pass anything on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't want to, I want, while I'm still young enough to do it all and change tires all the time and do all that stuff, I want to be involved in it.
Yep. Anything else you got?
That's it.
That's fucking
Did
phenomenal.
we blow through the whole thing?
I think so.
Holy shit.
Probably every episode, no matter who it is.
Go back and you read
I
something.
go
You're like,
back and I say, we want to talk about this, but you go with the flow and you go down your little rabbit holes and you do what you got to do.
Yeah.
It was an amazingly interesting and awesome episode. I'm very tired now from listening to you, and I feel like
I'm sorry I exhausted
no,
you.
you fucking
You
exhausted.
go take a nap.
I am. I'm gonna go take a fucking nap. Please, for all those that were gonna do the counting, please let me know. I know I got crushed on the F-bombs. I think Mike threw out at least. My guess, just by my listening and trying to come up with a number, I would say someone said 25. I think that's a pretty accurate guess, between 25 and 30 F-bombs.
Yeah.
I would say.
I mean, I honestly,
You don't even realize.
I don't realize I do
it's
it.
a natural
So
fucking occurrence.
I would have
for
said
you.
like 5.
No, there's no fucking way you said 5. And I'm just saying fuck now, just to
catch up. Try to catch
up.
Maybe we do one for me and one for Jay, and we'll combine them just to see how many total.
My idea, hopefully, if I'm creative enough, I want to do a bunch of clips just with one of us saying fuck.
That'd be hysterical.
Like 2 or 3 minutes of just fucking fuck.
Fuck's sake, fuck that, fuck this.
In any event, it was awesome. I literally, it felt like it was going back like 10, 15 years.
Yes.
And reminiscing with you,
which
is exactly what I wanted to do. I appreciate you taking that time out of your day coming down.
I loved it. Jay, thank you so much for having me. I was, since I've been watching you guys, I've been like, maybe one day we got to get some driving stuff in.
It fits perfectly.
Yeah.
It really does.
But no, I'm so happy that you let me come on. I mean,
yeah.
I'm like ecstatic. I really am.
Yeah, this will do good.
Appreciate it.
Thank you everybody for watching, listening, and sticking with me. Remember, no one fucking cares.
That's right. Nobody does fucking care.
It's a true story.
Especially when you're on the other side, when you retire and you realize, you look back and you're like, man, really, nobody fucking cared.
It's true. I didn't just make this up. It's a true story, but it's one we got to deal with, and I'm completely fine with it.
Yeah.
So for everybody that's still with me, for all those additional listeners that have come on, thank you very much. I have a lot of aspirations for this, and we'll see where it goes. And then again, maybe tomorrow I say, fuck it, I'm all done. You never know. We'll see where this goes. As of right now, I'm extremely happy for these relationships that I'm creating. And I said it to Ed Rasso, and I'll say it again. I think a really good episode happens when you have somebody that's passionate about whatever it is that they like to do. Most of our guests were exactly that we've had on. They're passionate about one particular discipline. And if I can do that, if I can continue to carry that forward and show that within an episode, I think we'll do pretty good.
Yeah.
So once again, thank you everybody. Please like, share, subscribe, and follow for the journey.
Thank you.